Hey everybody, welcome to IndieQuest, a celebration of the indie and obscure. Your home for a bunch of geeky indie video game talk. I'm here with my co-host. My name is Josh. I should probably introduce myself first. And I'm here with my co-host, Steve. How you doing, man? How was the holidays?
You know, it was good. It was a low-key holiday for us this year. For obvious reasons, I didn't go visit family or anything like that. Just remotely connected with them a little bit. But, you know, me and the girlfriend, we just stayed at home, exchanged presents, had some food. It was honestly pretty chill. I didn't mind it. I like seeing family, obviously, but with between her family and my family, we end up usually cramming 2 Christmases into 24 hours, and our families live 3.5 hours apart. So it's like you do one, you drive for 3.5 hours, you do the other. So that hustle and bustle going away this year was actually kind of nice. So a little spark of joy coming out of that. How about you, man? How was your holiday?
Super laid back. I was actually home alone for Christmas, and I didn't set any traps for like people trying to break into my apartment or anything. But yeah, I was just chilling. I put on, I watched Soul, which was a good movie. Just hung out, drank some beers, kicked my feet up. It was like a really rough holiday, just rush at work. So it was nice to just veg out. And we exchanged gifts, me and my fiance, like a couple days later, and had a nice dinner and stuff to celebrate together because she was working on Christmas. Good times. It wasn't too bad. Cool. Yeah, it wasn't bad. But yeah, just real laid back and just kind of isolated Christmas, which that's kind of rare for me, but it was kind of different but nice, I think, Yeah,
I think that's sort of, it comes in different forms, but I think for a lot of us, that was sort of the shared experience this year, is a slightly smaller, you could argue slightly lonelier Christmas that we all just sort of made work as best that we could. But it's still nice to have some time to just relax and, gosh, hopefully some time to play some indie games, right?
Yeah, and speaking of indie games, there were a lot of awesome indie games in 2020. So this episode is our Game of the Year. This is our very first IndieQuest Game of the Year Spectacular episode. You ready?
I'm pumped. If anything, it was hard to narrow it down. So we got 75, 80 categories we're going to go through. Going to be a 12-hour episode.
Do a giant bomb Game of the Year style, 5 or 6 episodes each, running about 5 or 6 hours a piece, Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what we decided to do was we're going to do it, we kind of keep it short and simple. We're doing our top 3 of the year, and then we're going to do some honorable mentions, and then we're going to pick our favorite game we put on the quest log for 2020. Super straight to the point.
Everything that we're talking about here, all the games that we bring for our top 3, they are all going on to the quest log, whether it's main quest or side quest. Although, I mean, these are the top 3 we brought for the year, so you could probably make an educated guess about where most of them will land. But yeah, so these, we'll give them all sort of a mini IndieQuest rundown, and they will all go on the quest log, so you'll know about them. You'll remember them down the line.
And what is the quest log? The quest log is this list that we've been building. For how many months have we been doing this? Just a few so far. But it's the list of amazing indie games. There's 2 sections to it. The main quest, which is games you just got to play like right now. Take out your wallet. Take out your wallet, buy it, play it, love it. And then the side quest is a game that's still wonderful that we recommend highly, but kind of just put it in the back of your mind. If you're feeling it, check it out when you get some extra time and need an indie game gap to fill.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Either of these, whether you choose from the main quest or the side quest, they're both still our gifts to you. Merry Christmas, listener.
Happy New Year. Also, it's 2021.
Truth.
It's going to feel really weird to say because all year we've been like, oh my God, 2020 is never going to end. And now here we are, past it. New beginnings.
Yeah, we'll see how different it turns out.
Yeah, and like we said, there's some awesome games. So why don't we just roll into our top 3? What do you say?
That sounds good to me. Why don't you take us in with your first pick here?
Okay, so we're going ascending order. So we're going 3, 2, 1, of course, to make it more fun in a countdown. So number 3 for me is Sludge Life by Terry Velman, and the music is by Dose One, and they worked very closely on the game. So Sludge Life is a very weird game. I actually streamed my first playthrough of this game, just to get my first impressions and stuff. But pretty much it's like this neon-soaked, like cyberpunk future game, first person, and the whole point of it is you're spray painting different areas to fill up the spray paint like counter. So you basically just tagging up the entire joint. And there's like a bunch of really crazy characters. They're all bugs and like animal creatures that talk. You get little power-ups that you can do, like you can shrink yourself, and it's just a really zany game and zany world, and it was just a really fun time to play through, so much so that I've played it multiple times, and it has different endings to it, which I thought was a really solid game, and it's very memorable for me. I just had a really good time just hanging out, listening to some good tunes, taking pictures of this like really weird world, and I just really dug this game.
That's awesome. And where did you ever hear about this game? It seems like it sort of came out of nowhere, at least from my perspective.
I think I heard it on a podcast, which is usually where I hear about stuff like this. I think it was on Waypoint Radio, which they at times bring like little more obscure games. And the game that I've been wanting to play that they recommend was Umurangi Generation. Do you know how to pronounce that? Umurangi? Am I saying that right?
I think I say Umurangi. I don't know if that's right.
Okay, but yeah, that's the other one that kind of, I don't think it has a similar DNA, but it has like a photography element to it too. So I'm like, I should have played that game. And I know it's not a super long game, and that's one that's on my backlog, and I'm definitely going to get to it in the next few months. But yeah, this game just kind of I don't know, I just felt it, man. It just felt right. It was really fun to play, and I just had a good time with it. It does have some commentary on capitalist government and stuff. Like there's like a protest there, and then you have to like basically dethrone the big bad on the top of this like freaking hotel like penthouse suite, and is like giant, basically fat man in charge, So it has that element to it. And it's just this grimy, grungy, sludgy world, and it has a lot of little cool Easter eggs, great music. It's actually pretty much a platformer, first-person platformer, which can, be a bad thing. But in this game, it worked really well, and it was kind of just fun to just explore this world and find the little tags, tag your stuff up, and then talk to like the scum of the earth that you see out throughout the entire world here.
That's awesome. It's definitely one after. Initially hearing you chat a little bit about it that is on my backlog, and I'm hoping I can get to it in 2021. It does seem really cool.
So the music here, I think, just sounds awesome. So I want to play a snippet right here. Wow, wasn't that amazing?
Dang, that was so good.
But yeah, I love the music in this game. I think it just suits the atmosphere and tone so well. And for me, I think this is going to go on a side quest for me. Just right out the gate, going to answer that. It's going to be a side quest game. If you're into like an exploration, like I said, neon soaked like world, play it. I'm not going to say go out and play it right now. It's like top of the list, top priority, but I do think it's a fantastic game that you guys should check out.
That's an awesome pick for number 3, man.
Okay, so what's your number 3?
All right, so I had to bring my number 3 because 1, it's zany, it's a weird game, and 2, I just got so swept up playing it in my PS5 hype when that came out this year. My number 3 is Bug Snacks. So, Bug Snacks is from Young Horses. That's the same studio that did Octodad Deadliest Catch. And it's a weird game. It's hard to fully describe in a way that makes the component pieces make sense, but you arrive at this Bug Snacks Island, essentially, which is inhabited by all these different creatures, which are a combination of bugs and food. And you walk around this island basically trying to find ways to capture these bugs. So you'll use different tools or attract them with different types of foods, all to either knock them unconscious so you can net them or get them to walk into your trap overall. And the reason you're trying to catch all these different creatures is because then you go back to this main town where there's all these different NPCs and you can feed them different bug snacks, and you're also sort of cataloging different bug snacks, and you're really just working with them to unravel the mystery of this island that you're on. I like to think of it as like a cross between a puzzle game and almost like a Pokemon Snap, because so much of it comes down to you observing the different bug snacks and then trying to understand their behaviors and how you can interrupt that behavior. You'll see one that likes to crawl under little gaps in the rock or something, and so you might place your trap on one end of that gap and then use one of your tools to flush them out from the other end of the gap and get them to come in. Or you might see two bug snacks that don't get along very well, so you might bait them together so that they get into a fight and knock each other unconscious, something like that. It's it's just, I don't think there's anything else like this. Have you played this one?
I just recently got my PS5 a few days ago. I've only had it for 3 days. So I focused on Astrobot first, and I just barely went through the intro Bug Snacks, but I definitely love the vibes so far. And this game in Pathless is another one I have downloaded, ready to go. I bought it from Walmart, physical version. I'm ready to play it, but I just haven't had a chance because I just got my PS5. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of those I'm just super looking forward to. Of course, that has that banging intro music or that banging theme song.
Oh. That Caro Caro Bonito track. Yeah.
Is there other music in the game that's on that level, or is it good? Or I haven't heard any of the other music.
Honestly, I feel like the rest of the music is pretty just ambient and fitting. That's definitely far and away the standout track. And actually, that song that has sort of become internet famous in a way, that Bugsnax theme, it doesn't even play in the game until you hit the credits. That's the music that plays over the credits. So you gotta earn your way to that Caro Caro Bonito theme. But what I like about the sort of tone of the game is it starts out and it's just, the concept is weird and it's so silly that there are, these spiders that are made out of peanut butter or these centipedes that are made out of donuts or whatever it might be. But there's actually a pretty solid development for all of the different characters. You get to know them, you get to understand some problems going on in their life. You get to help them out. You get to basically make them better people in most situations. And then on top of that, you're also unraveling a bit of a mystery about the origins of Bugsnax Island overall and what happened to this former adventurer that you're kind of following in the footsteps of. It's a lot more story rich than I think you would expect a game called Bugsnax to be. So it's really cool. It's definitely something that I recommend people check out, and especially if you have a PS5, but even if not, I think it's on other platforms too, PS4 and PC. So
yeah,
it's just like Octodad, their previous game. It's one of those that on its surface, it's just, you hear it and you're like, what the heck is going on? But then as you start to peel the layers back, there's a lot there. So I'm going to say Bugsnax, while rock solid, I think it just barely misses main quest, if only because it does have a little bit of pacing issues from time to time. Sometimes you are essentially tracking down specific bug snacks to do specific things, and it doesn't always make itself super clear on how to approach the next situation. You can sort of get caught up or have to do a lot of backtracking. So it's almost main quest. It just slightly misses the mark, but side quest is a rock solid place for bug snacks to be, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's on my backlog for this coming year. Probably, like I said, I already did the intro. I'll probably beat it in the next couple weeks or a week or two. So yeah, I've been looking forward to it for a while, and I was just being, what's the word, stingy, I guess. I was like, I'm not playing until I get my PS5. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is what it is. So my second game, I guess we could roll right into it, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so my second game is a game that's already on the quest log.
Whoa.
It's Inmost
Oh, yeah.
by Hidden Layer Games, published by Chucklefish. Yes, I brought this up on the Halloween episode. It's on the main quest already. This game affected me. It has a really nice message, and I just this game resonated with me, and it's one I think about often. And I just I don't know how detailed I should go since we already had it on the list, and I didn't want to spoil that for you. I didn't want to be like, I have one that's already on the list. How are we going to do this? So I guess I'll just kind of go over it a little bit. It's a side scroller with different areas that you can unlock and basically finding items to unlock different areas of the stages, and then there are 3 different characters that each have different move sets, and there's a really nice overarching story with a lot of creepy vibes that talks about some challenging subject matter.
Yeah, this game, I still feel guilty that I didn't get around to it in 2020. After talking to you about it and watching some more videos, it just seems so cool, but it's definitely one that I'll be saving for October of this upcoming year. It seems like the perfect Halloween game, or October game.
The thing is I brought this game to the show, and I was probably going to play it eventually, but the reason I played it was for this show, and it ended up being one of my favorite games of the year. So that's pretty awesome to me.
That's the beauty of doing the show, I think, is we're already always playing indie games. We wouldn't have started a show about them if we weren't already super into them. But sometimes you are like a little more incentivized to check out something new or something a little different, just to add some diversity to your picks or kind of broaden your indie horizons. So I'm very appreciative for this show to encourage me to play new stuff.
So yeah, if you haven't listened to the Halloween episode, go check it out, and you can hear more thoughts on Inmost and hear me break it down little by little and tell you guys why I love it. But obviously, if it's my number 2, I just absolutely loved it. So Steve, what's your number 2?
So you already gave away my number 2.
Did
my
I?
number 2 game is The Pathless.
Aw.
You low-key dropped it.
I didn't mean to, but okay, that's awesome.
Hey, that just tells everyone that we're in sync in terms of what we're into. Pathless is, it's such a wild game. So this is developed by Giant Squid, which has some very famous talent. It has the same art director and the same composer as Journey and as Flower. So if you like Journey, the Pathless is kind of it's not related. It's not a spiritual successor in any way, but it's in that wheelhouse. It gets the same idea across, but it takes that concept of I don't even know. We need a word for this, but the artsy platformer, these a Journey style game, this like tight 2-hour experience it's a platformer, but it's mostly just designed to like be an experience that you go through. It's really pretty low friction, but high emotion. You know what I'm talking about?
How about we just call it a chill vibe experience?
All right, I'm down for that. So this is the next in the chill vibe experience genre. But they take that idea and they blow it out in a way that sort of melds that with more conventional modern AAA design. And I know what people are thinking that are listening to the show. Most people that listen to the show probably are here for indie stuff, not like AAA games. They don't want to play Assassin's Creed as much, or at least they are looking for recommendations that aren't like those types of games. But the Pathless does it really well. You explore this open world, very, very beautiful, very striking, high contrast colors and things. You navigate the environments using your bow and arrow, which sounds weird, but as you run and sprint, you can shoot these talismans that are littered all over the world. And whenever you hit one, you get kind of a burst of speed. You can slide along the grass or through the trees and along the hillside, and you'll start chaining these shots of talisman together. And you'll really be able to like get a lot of momentum and build up a good amount of speed. And it almost makes navigating through these grassy fields feel like surfing. Or a really good way to think of it is going back to Journey. You think of that really famous scene where they're sort of gliding down the sand through those ruins with the sunlight shining through. It's moments like that in the exploration and navigation of this game, but they're a little less tailored, and they're a little more designed by you and how you choose to control through the world. And then you also have this eagle companion, this bird, which will let you glide around. It actually Very similar to a short hike, you get the ability to unlock like flaps, so you can basically get vertical height that increase over time the more you unlock these different levels of flapping. And then the core loop of the game is basically you're trying to explore the environment. You're finding these different towers. Think Breath of the Wild. You find a tower to sort of like uncover that section of map and get an idea of what other things there are to find around there. And then once you have found the towers in a given area and sort of like done the boss like enemy encounter, then you'll do a lot of exploration to find these different talismans and things that are hidden in different ruins. So you'll do different puzzle solving, a lot of creative puzzles around trying to line of sight different objects together so you can shoot them all at once with a bow. So a lot of perspective messing things, some like mirror-based puzzles and stuff. And so all that comes together to give this game this like really unique loop, I feel, for an indie game. So it'll have these really tailored, really beautiful, very evocative moments, something like you would experience in a Journey. But then also, a lot of the game is really chill, almost like a podcast game. You know, you can throw a podcast in and just explore around the world, look for different ruins and things, sort of like check items off of a checklist. And so you get kind of this like peaks and valleys, but the valleys are still very high. And it's just a gorgeous world to explore. Soundtrack is very fitting to what you're doing. It's an Austin Wintory soundtrack, so you know it's going to be incredible. And it's just a lot of fun. It's really cool, and it's long by indie game standards. I feel it's a solid 10 to 15 hour experience.
That's awesome, man. I'm already sold on the game. I have the game installed, ready to go, and of course I spoiled it a little bit for you, but it's okay. But this is one that it kind of snuck up on me a little bit because I did see the trailers. I think they had this on like a PlayStation event back in the day this year whenever they were revealing PlayStation 5 and stuff. But I was kind of looking at it. I was like, it looks all right. It looks kind of cool, I guess. And then I realized who was behind it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can get behind that. And, and I just think that following devs through, different games and just kind of seeing what they do next is really cool. And hearing that they're taking that chill vibes experience and then combining it with more like gaminess is pretty cool to me. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. Is this going to be like a main quest or a side quest game for you?
Oh, this is definitely going to be a main quest for me. I mean, if you're looking for essentially the intersection, the halfway point between like Breath of the Wild and Journey, that's the Pathless, and those are both games that I love to death. So absolutely we'll toss this one onto the main quest, and I hope people can check it out, and I hope people are into it. I mean, if you are going into this expecting one of those chill vibe experience games where you want like a really tight hour and a half, 2 hours of just like beautiful scene after beautiful scene after beautiful scene, it's not quite that, but it is beautiful, and you can kind of create your own scenes interspersed with them doing a little bit of that on their own too. So just even though it's not doing anything like mechanically super new, I feel like a really unique experience in the indie space.
That's awesome. And I think that's a perfect box quote right there. The in-between point between Journey and Breath of the Wild. If I saw that on a box, oh my God, I'd be buying that instantly. So, man, I'm super hyped to play this game. Like, I want to play it right now.
Yeah, I hope you're into it. I don't think it'll maybe connect with as many people as Journey did, but it will. I think you'll like it. I know your tastes. You'll be into it. You like a chill game.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to love it. Anyway, I guess it's that time already. Game of the year.
Hot diggity.
First. I'm very curious on. Okay, well, I guess I'll just say it. Drum roll, I guess, or something. My game of the year for IndieQuest for 2020 is Hades by Supergiant Games.
Me too. What do you know?
we both love this game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this is my favorite indie game I've played this year, just because of pure quality. And I haven't beat it yet. I haven't beat it yet. I did beat it once, no, twice actually now. But I think from gameplay, narrative, artwork, music, everything, this game is it's kind of a masterpiece in my opinion of a game. What do you think?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I really can't think of anything that I would pull apart to try to criticize it too much. So anyone that's not aware of this, I imagine it's hard to be listening to IndieQuest and not know what Hades is, especially with all the accolades that it's been getting. There's probably a subset of people that are rolling their eyes and thinking, "Oh, another outlet giving it Game of the Year." I see. But it really does deserve it. It's it takes the roguelite, right? Is that the term that we've settled on for these like more action-y, more generous roguelike games?
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna do a rogue, like a pure rogue-like game, it'd be more punishing, more like a Spelunky, where you just start over every single time.
Yeah.
Without any leveling up and building your guy up or anything like you can in Hades and like Rogue Legacy and stuff. So that would be a roguelike. Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. So it's a rogue light or roguelike, and then you're trying to escape basically from the underworld. You're trying to get out to the surface. And the way that the runs are designed is so that failure is like expected and it's part of the experience. So you'll choose whatever weapon you want to choose. You'll go through. You'll inevitably die because it's not a super easy game to get through. But you'll unlock more story, new interactions, new dialogue with people when you get back. And it's not just like little incidental dialogue that doesn't really matter until you unlock the next story beat. It really is. The story keeps marching forward no matter where you die, how often you die, whatever. And it changes, not like the narrative doesn't substantially change, but your interactions with characters change, the things they talk to you about when they interact with each other, all that changes depending on what you did in the game, depending on a ton of different factors. Mm-hmm. What weapons you used, what enemies you died to, how far you got, anything you could think, what boons you picked up along the way to sort of build out your character. All that will open up new dialogue with the different characters. You might, let's say I do a run and I get some boons from Hermes, some speed-related boons. I might then get back, and then one of the characters will sort of kick off this whole like sub-story plotline of them talking about how they met Hermes and their interaction with Hermes, how Hermes plays into the story. It's so narratively rich and well designed, and it's there's obviously so much going on behind the scenes to build out this story in a way that feels supernatural. It's supernatural, not supernatural.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's so good.
So there's a quote, I don't have it written down, so I'm just trying to remember exactly what it was somebody said, but the game is a game not about trying to get out of hell, it's about the friends you meet along the way. I think. Yeah. Something like that. I don't know if it was like a headline or something, and I was like, hey, that sums up that game perfectly, because the way it rewards you for like learning the different mob types as you go through, and the different areas, what different boons do, and it's definitely one of the most rewarding roguelike games from that aspect. The gameplay just feels so buttery smooth, and then of course, you get to a boss and you kind of just try to figure out their patterns. And then this is a thing that I will complain about when I'm talking about like a Souls-like game, and then of course, actually I've been kind of picking up on Souls lately. That's a conversation for a different time, but it just feels so rewarding to just learn that pattern and make your way through this just insane, like, I don't know, gauntlet of bad guys. I'm getting more and more powerful to the point where your boons are stacking on your boons and making you like zip through dudes, just melting guys and zapping people and just kicking ass, man. You just feel it's just so satisfying to play. And then when you inevitably die, or if you beat it, but if you inevitably die, there's always some funny, witty thing somebody will say. There's always like a little drama going on in the background, and there's just overarching story that just keeps running through the entire game. And you actually kind of learn to like characters, relate to characters. And I just think that it's such a unique experience from that aspect too, because most of the time when you play a run-based game, you're just doing the runs, you're doing your thing, it's all about the gameplay. This is gameplay, story, just meshed together, unlike anything I've seen, I think.
It's a strong testament to how those two things work together, that when you die, you're not frustrated. You're not like, oh, now I have to start another run. You die and you're like, all right, let's get back. I can't wait to see what characters, like dialogue, have opened up. I can't wait to talk to some more characters and flesh out this story a little bit more. I also think it's just, this game is like a masterclass in design itself. I don't know how they did it, but so there are ultimately 6 weapons that you can choose from. And if you look on any, Reddit or any message board or on Twitter, you will find a ton of people that adamantly claim that each weapon is the best weapon in the game. There's like very clearly no one best build, no one best weapon. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. I've played this game probably 60 hours at this point. I think I've like successfully done like 18 runs, and I still find new builds that I've never messed around with, new like ways to experiment, new types of things to try. There's just like a constant sense of discovery, and they're all really well balanced. One run you might buff up your main attack a bunch with a bunch of like slows and modifiers and things to mess up enemies or do a bunch of critical damage, and then another run you might like basically ignore your main attack and like only buff up your cast that is like a magic cast that you can throw into enemies. I even had some builds where I basically wasn't attacking because I had built it essentially around my special move that would constantly build up. So I would really just kind of run around avoiding enemies until I could cast my special over and over and over again, or my call. And so I don't know how they managed to take so many different variables between the weapons, the attack types, the boons, and balance them all so well so that they all feel equally good and they all feel unique, and you can combine them in 100 different ways and you're never not discovering something new. It's way to go, Supergiant, I tell you.
Yeah, and I think that might be something to do with it being in early access for so long, because I think it's been in early access for almost 2 years, right, before it came out, something like that.
Yeah, and sadly I ignored it while it was in early access. I didn't look at it at all.
Yeah, and I think that them having the opportunity to put out the game and say, okay, what do you guys think about this weapon? And they can just kind of slowly tweak everything to kind of like make it that perfectly seasoned recipe of a video game, So I think that really helped out the entire development. And there is some good documentaries on NoClip if you have any time to watch those. They're pretty good too. It kind of chronicles the entire like development process of the game. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've watched the NoClip ones for Hades. I'll have to go check that out. Yeah, it's a wholly unique game. I know it seems weird to say that a roguelike is unique because it's a genre that you could argue is sort of like full to bursting at this point with so many different entries, but it really is something special. I think easily Supergiant's best game, although to be fair, I haven't played all of their games. But I would say I like it more than Bastion. And yeah, just one of the most like genuinely well designed, well balanced, and impressive games I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And it's so replayable, and like I've had not as much time in 2020 to play games, and this is the one that I always think about. Like, man, I should be playing Hades right now. So it's one of those that it's so fun to just sit down and have a quick session with, because the runs are like 20 minutes, maybe 30, depending on how far you get. And then, you could sit there for 7 hours like I did one day and just keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and playing. No, one more run. It's okay. It's like, oh, I had two other things I wanted to play today or do today. Nah, just play this all day, just get really into the loop. So it's just a really fun, addicting game, and the artwork's great. The music's spectacular. Oh my god, we talked about the music in our first IQ OST, and man, I love the music for this game. I listen to this soundtrack in the background constantly lately. So yeah, such a good game. And speaking of the soundtrack, I think we should play out this section with the soundtrack, but This is obviously a main quest game. This is both of our number one indie game. And this thing gets accolades like crazy, like we were saying, but it deserves it. Check this game out if you haven't, man. It's on sale constantly. Such a fantastic game. And here's a track to play us out for the first ever IndieQuest Game of the Year. Stick around, we're going to do our honorable mentions. All right, man. So my idea was, okay, well, we did some 2020 games, but we play indie games from every year. So why don't we bring some honorable mentions that weren't from this year that we kind of just want to talk about? And these could be up for the quest log if we want, but we're leaving that option open. If not, we can just say, nah, we don't need to put it on. We'll talk about it more in depth later. We'll see how this goes. For me, I'll go ahead and do my first honorable mention, and it is Genital Jousting by Free Lives. You might think I'm joking, but I'm not. This game's great. It really is.
My experience with this game is I think I was at a friend's house at a party or something, and I watched 2 or 3 minutes of someone playing it on a TV. This game's been out for a few years, right?
Yeah, I think 2017, 2016, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it makes a first impression for sure.
Okay, this game is super not safe for work, obviously from the title. You literally play dicks with buttholes that fart a lot. It's really goofy, and I like the storyline for this game, man. I do. I really like it.
I was not expecting you to say the storyline.
I love the storyline. It was so good. It's about like finding true love. I'm not kidding. You play a dick, quite literally. It's very slapsticky. The storyline's very slapsticky, but the basic premise is you are a sad, lonely guy trying to find love in this world full of dicks. Which, I mean, I can relate to that. I'm sure you can too.
I mean, isn't that what we're all doing in life? It's trying to find love in a world full of dicks.
That's a box quote too.
Yeah, no kidding. That feels like something that would be on the Steam page. Yeah,
so this game, it's silly, but I actually find it kind of it's gross, to watch because you're a dick, literally. The physics are okay. They're kind of wonky on purpose, and it's kind of a bunch of mini games strung together, usually involving some type of penetration, which of course. And this game is super fun. I think the storyline's worth going through. It's like an hour and a half long, but it's definitely not one I would bring for a main pick conversation. You know what I mean? So I figured this would be a nice little honorable mention.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's an interesting game. My impression of it was that it was something more like a Nidhogg or like a Towerfall, one of these competitive games. Is that how it plays?
Yeah, it has that element to it because it's a party game at first. When they first put it out, it was a party game where the goal is to basically wrestle other dicks by putting your dick into their buttholes. Yep. And it's silly drunk party game type of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, let's play this game because it's this ridiculous, goofy thing. And then a year later, they added this storyline, which is what I focused on. And I haven't actually played the multiplayer, but I've heard it's pretty fun. And I've seen some gameplay and watched some streamers and stuff. Actually, this game is banned on Twitch now. You can't play it on Twitch.
I wonder why. I wonder what it is about genital jousting that isn't allowed on the Twitch's TOS. Huh. Weird.
Yeah, I wonder why. Anyway, I'm actually going to put this on the quest log too, and it's going to be there forever, so it's going to be on a side quest.
This is our life now.
This is our life now. This I chose this. So yeah, that's a side quest game in my first honorable mention. Ridiculous as it is, I had a good time with it. I got some laughs. I actually felt something. and I think you guys should check it out if you're in the mood for something super absurd. But that's why it's on a side quest. But if you're not in the mood for that, and if you don't want to play a game about being a giant dick trying to find love, then don't try it out. Anyway, what's your first honorable mention?
As I pull in the honorable mentions here, how many did you bring total?
I brought 2.
2? Okay. All right, so I've got 3, but my first one is objectively cheating. So okay. My first non-2020 honorable mention is a 2020 game, and it is one that we've already talked about on the show. It's The Last Campfire. And the reason I'm bringing this game is because we talked about it on the show, and then my game of the year came around. I stream the building of my top 10 game of the year list every year. We did the whole stream to kind of build out, and this game just narrowly missed it. And all year I thought for sure Last Campfire was going to be a top 10, but it was like a top 11 or a top 12 game. And it hurts my heart because I haven't seen any other outlet talk about this game other than us. And I mean, we're the premier outlet, but still other outlets are ignoring it. And so just one last time, I want to shout into the void, please, if you want a really charming, cute puzzle game, please play The Last Campfire. Someone out there play The Last Campfire. I'm begging you. I'm on my hands and knees, people.
So I'm going to do some type of content. I haven't figured out if I want to do a podcast or like a video, but I'm going to build like an actual backlog this year and write it all out and try to knock it off. So for you, I'm going to put that at the very top, or at least top 3, so I can play through it too. And then I can come back on here one day and be like, I played The Last Campfire and I loved it. So I'm playing it because of your recommendation, and I think everybody else should. So what's the other honorable mention that's not cheating?
All right, I have 2. My first one is Abzu, and this was a late pick for me this year. Abzu is the first game developed by Giant Squid that did the Pathless, which was in my top 3. I had never played this. This has been since the day it came out, sitting on my backlog, and I've always been just kind of like waiting for the right moment, because I knew the general idea of this game. I knew that it was a really chill game. You're just kind of underwater, swimming around in these beautiful different environments, looking at fish, chilling out. And it was like one of those games that's perfect to help you de-stress. But I always put it off. I kept being like, I'm saving it. But then I beat Pathless, and literally, we finished Pathless. Me and my girlfriend was sitting on the couch next to me. We finished it up. We were both just like, wow, Pathless was so good. We really should play the other game from the studio, Abzu. And it was like 12:30 at night. It was like almost 1 a.m. And she's like, well, go grab it, put it in. We're doing this thing right now. So we went, grabbed the disc off the shelf, we threw it in, and we played through Abzu 2. And oh my gosh, what an experience it is. I know I sold Pathless as like a combination of these chill vibe platform explorer games, but Abzu really is more of that recipe that made something like Flower or Journey special. It's a tight 2 to 3 hours. You're underwater, you're swimming. It's absolutely gorgeous, like bright, colorful, beautiful, touching, moving. It's the soundtrack swells where it needs to and gets a little more quiet and in the background when it needs to. It's got just enough freedom of exploration to where you can kind of poke around in these different areas and try and find hidden collectibles and things, but not so much that you're not on a really tailored, nice experience. It does some surprising things as you go through the story, even though it's only a 2 or 3 hour game. And yeah, it's just easily one of my biggest regrets not playing this a long time ago. If I had played it when it came out, I think it was 2016 or 2017, it easily would have been in my top 10 that year. So
that's
just
awesome.
Just great.
Yeah, I played this game when it came out and absolutely loved it. It's very visually pleasing, and it's like one of those that I can just like remember how beautiful it is in my head. I just close my eyes and I can like see moments in that game because of just how, beautiful it is and how easy it is to get that striking imagery just stuck in your mind. I think that game's a big recommendation for myself as well if you haven't tried it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't know you'd played it. That's so cool. And the game knows that it's chill, right? All throughout the game, there are these little statues you can find where you can stop and meditate in the different environments. And when you're meditating, it'll let you basically lock your camera to this perspective of the different schools of fish and things swimming around. And you can swap between the different fish in the different biomes. And basically just like enjoy the sound of like bubbling water and fish swimming through kelp and seaweed. And oh my gosh, it's just so chill. It is relaxation, the game.
Yeah, it's just all about atmosphere, I think, with that game. And yeah, I kind of want to replay it. It's been a few years. It'd be nice just to sit down and play it and just soak it in one night. I think I'm going to do that soon. But anyway, are you going to rank this on the main quest or side quest? Or are you going to save it?
I feel like, we both love this game. Maybe you replay it and we'll revisit it and give it like the full breakdown before we throw it onto the quest log.
Sounds good to me. So my second honorable mention today is a mobile game. One I got addicted to, played probably more than I've played any mobile game ever, I would say. Most likely.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called Hold Down. And it's a game by two people. Martin Johansson did the main programming, and then Catherine Unger did the artwork. And then there's music by Nicholas Strom. So Hold Down it's kind of cool. It's kind of like, what's that game? What's the name of that game? That brick making game? It's Breakdown? What am I talking about? The one with the paddle on the bottom and you break the bricks at the top. What's it called?
Breakout?
Breakout. Yeah. It's like Breakout mixed with Peggle, pretty much. And so you have these areas where you get like a certain ball count. So you get 10 balls, and you have to shoot them at these bricks that have different like gems in them and different numbers on them. And basically the whole point is to shoot these balls down in the hole to get to the center of like the planet. So you're basically digging down in these quote unquote planets. And it's very simple graphic style, very simple gameplay. But the loop is, as you go down, you pick up gems that you can buy upgrades for your, I guess, ball kit or whatever. What's with me and dicks and balls today? I don't know. Anyway, you basically get more balls to be more powerful, basically, and break more bricks. And it's very addictive, and it's all about hitting that perfect angle, getting that shot in that perfect spot, because you get up to the point where you have like 100 of these balls in there just bouncing around. So it's like, okay, if I can shoot my 100 ball like thing in this area and get it to like bounce around and break like all the bricks in this little area, it's a super satisfying feeling game. It's kind of like pinball. It's just super addicting. I don't know. I just had a good time with it. Have you seen this game before?
No, I've never even heard of it until now. It seems cool.
Yeah, it's a very small puzzle game, and just got super hooked on it on my phone. And I beat it, and then I literally deleted the game and the save and replayed it all the way through again, just because it's super easy to pull out my phone and then try a couple runs. There are multiple planets, so basically you start on like the moon, and then you work your way up to the sun. Like, so there's like
cool.
Moon, Earth, and then each basically I just get a little harder, and then you get blocks that take 300 hits to get through. So you have like this big block that's coming up at you that's 300 hits to get through. So you have to like get the perfect angle to bounce like 300 times to get rid of that block. It's easy. It sounds kind of samey and whatever. It's just one of those very addicting puzzle games that it's just like really easy to go back to, kind of like a Tetris or a Peggle, stuff like that.
It's nice to have stuff like that around, especially mobile, because you never know when you're going to be sitting in the waiting line at the DMV or something, and you just need something cool to pull out and be entertaining for 10 minutes. It's nice. I like having games like that. I mean, is this something you'd recommend for the quest log, or you can throw it on there?
I'm going to put it on a main quest. I'm going bold.
Whoa.
Yes.
This guy, you can't slow this guy down.
The thing is it's just really hard to describe. Just look up some video of it. But it's just a super fun mobile game. I can't recommend it highly enough. Especially if you love like I said, Peggle or like a Tetris or just small little bite-sized puzzle games, I think that this will scratch that itch and then some. And of course, leveling up your guy to get more balls and little power-ups and things like that really helps out the game too and the experience, and makes it feel like, okay, if I get 15 gems in this run, I can unlock this special thing that helps me get through this area, So it has that loop too. And I just loved it. I think you guys should check it out.
That's awesome. Is it a free-to-play or is it a paid app on mobile?
I think it's like $2, maybe $5 at the most. I know it's on Google Play Pass, and I think it's on Apple Arcade also, so technically free if you had those services. I don't know how much it actually costs to just buy out, though. Maybe $2. Super cheap, though.
Hold down, huh?
All one word. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna go pick it up right now. You just made a sale live on IndieQuest as we're talking.
I'm looking up the price.
It's $4.
$4. Okay, $4. Dude, you're gonna love it. It's really fun. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Good pick. That's exciting. I'm gonna check that one out. All right, I have one more honorable mention here. I'm bringing a story about my uncle. Now, have you played this game before I even get started?
I have downloaded this on my PlayStation 4, and I downloaded it on my Xbox, but I've never played it.
Awesome. So this is a game I used to see on Steam a lot. And this is one of those, the Steam winter sale comes around or the autumn sale, and it gets discounted to like $1.50. And I pick it up and it just sits in the Steam library forever and ever and ever. And you don't actually get around to playing those games because there's too many good games in the world. But I found myself in a situation this year where I had some time to burn and I really didn't want to commit to a game that was going to be long or very involved because, honestly, I was waiting for my PS5 to arrive in the mail. And so I knew as soon as the PS5 came, I'd drop whatever I was playing to play PS5 stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I needed something that I felt was non-committal. And so I picked this one up. And by picked it up, I mean I installed it because I had it in my library for years. And it really caught me by surprise. At its core, it's a grappling hook platformer. So it's a lot of you swinging from these sort of like fantastical realism worlds of like giant floating land masses and different objects. But because it's all grappling based, there's a really wild sense of momentum and sense of scale in this game. I mean, you'll swing like 300-400 meters, and something about the way that they've designed it, you really feel it. Like, this is one of the few games that's a non-VR game where, as I was moving around in the world, I got like a little bit of that stomach feeling that you get on a roller coaster. I was like, oh man, this is like, I'm pretty high up right now.
That's cool. And
I wish it had a VR version. Maybe it does, but yeah, it's the navigation of these different environments is just really fun. It just feels good to play. It feels good in your hands. It's a lot bigger and a lot more like wide in scale than I was expecting. And they do some really cool things with the different environments. They switch it up a lot. The story almost has like this Avatar, like the movie Avatar vibe, not the cartoon, but the blue people Avatar vibe. Maybe that's mostly because the aliens in this game look a little bit like the people from that movie. But, it's like sort of adventure puzzle, but mostly just grappling exploration. And even if the story isn't probably going to stick with me for a long time, it was interesting enough to carry me through the game. And it just felt fun to play. It really was a surprise for me. I thought I would be like messing around with it for 45 minutes, and I ended up getting hooked and going all the way through the game, which is 4 or 5 hours long.
Sweet. Dude, that is not what I imagined that game being at all. I imagined that game being a Gone Home, Edith Finch, just walking through a old grandpa's house, or what's the name of the game again?
A Story About My Uncle. It just sounds like one of those walking sim type games.
It sounds like a walking sim. Like I'm just going to be picking up letters, learning about my uncle and his fisherman tales or something, because that's what the artwork kind of reminds me of.
I feel like they know it too, because you start the game too, and you're in this like cabin type thing, and it feels like one of those games. You're walking around, you're sort of like pulling things off the bookshelf and finding clues about your uncle that worked here, who was sort of like this tinkering scientist. And then you basically find like this gravity grappling suit and his secret lab, and it goes like basically back in time to the narrative is like letting you experience what happened in the past, and you start playing as this grappling suit gravity character, and yeah, you're shooting all over the different worlds. It's a lot more like Mirror's Edge than it is like Gone Home. But I had the exact same thought as you. It's cool. It's trippy. It's not a perfect game. It has some frustrating platforming bits and some hiccups here and there. But it is definitely way cooler than I thought it would be, and was probably one of my biggest surprises this year. It's not often that I go into a game knowing nothing or expecting something totally different and getting something cool that I wasn't ready for.
Cool. Are you do you want to put it on the quest, or are you just a main quest or a side quest, or do you just want to recommend it for the folks out there?
Let's drop this comfy on a side quest. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it is cool enough where I definitely think more people should check it out. I don't remember if I said at the beginning, apologize if not, but this is developed by Gone North Games. I don't know if they've done other games. If they have, they're not ones that I've seen before, and I didn't find any in a quick look, but yeah. I'm definitely going to throw this one onto the side quest.
Sweet. And we're going to just play some tunes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this podcast as a whole and our favorite quest log picks so far this year and so far on the list. So I think that about wraps up our honorable mentions. Next up, we're going to be talking about the show in general, how we feel about it so far, and the future of the show. And then we're going to pick our favorite indie pick off of the quest log so far. So, Steve, how are you feeling about IndieQuest so far? It's been 3 months or so? Something like that? I
think so, yeah. Something like that. Honestly, it's been even more fun to do than I thought it was going to be. It's nice to have someone to sit down and like unpack some of my thoughts on these games with and give some recommendations to, especially someone that I know is going to probably take my recommendations and be interested in playing them. And it's just been really nice for me personally to kind of help focus in and keep me paying attention to all the cool indie stuff that I play. It's been great so far. How you been liking it?
I echo that completely. And we have an episode coming up. We had a conversation about a game I recently played that I can't wait for you guys to listen to. And whenever I originally had an idea for this show, that is the type of conversation that I really wanted to have with people, because I can go, hey, this game's amazing, guys, play it. This game's amazing, play it, over and over again. I can recommend it. People start associating me with the game. Like, be like, oh, Josh likes Night in the Woods. Josh likes Celeste, because I'll be like evangelizing, guys, play this game, play this game, play this game. But in this style of show, we can actually unpack why, I like this game so much. What makes it so good? What makes it tick? What's the heartbeat behind these games? And it's just been a really good time to talk about and discuss these games. Otherwise, I'd just be screaming at people, play it. Now I have an outlet for that, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good way of wording it, right? Is it gives you the opportunity to unpack. That same thing happens to me. We've joked around off recording that we both are sort of notoriously the type of people that are really positive on almost everything that they play, and so you get this kind of reputation of like, oh yeah, that's just Steve, or that's just Josh. They just love everything. So like, yeah, they're excited. It's nice to see the little puppy jumping and yipping around, but you're not gonna take the puppy seriously. And so this is nice to be like, all right, here's like a solid 15 minutes about what this game is and what makes it great, so that you can understand a little more about why I love this game that I preach about so much. And I think even for those games where, you don't kind of become synonymous with recommending it or talking about it, like I think I will with our my favorite quest log game so far, even some of these side quest games that are really solid, it lets you do more than just kind of like play them and then they fall into the background forever. Because there's so many cool games out there that might really click for people that would otherwise maybe get buried in the conversation about the big games or about kind of the higher profile indie stuff. So I'm glad to, I in particular appreciate when we can bring side quest stuff, because you never know when a side quest game that we bring might be a main quest game for somebody else. And I think that is cool.
That's a great thought. And I do like that to be the beacon of positivity if I can. Like, I think, like you said, we both are like that. And here I do try to be critical. I think we are fair and critical of these games. They are all recommendations, but if there's a glitch, there's a bug, we'll call it out. If there's a janky part of the game, we'll call it out. So I think it does show our critical side a bit, even though that this game is all about positivity and all about recommendations. We do have that layer of, analysis and critical insight into these games too.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a very strong proponent of criticism is good. Criticism is healthy and important for like understanding what makes works and what makes art tick. So I don't think you should be just like outwardly negative about something. Like if you just want to dunk on something or complain about it, that's not helpful and isn't something that I try to do myself. And I know it's not something that you try to do. But I think bringing games, especially that we lean positive on like this, talking critically about what isn't working and then praising what is working helps give a more complete picture about what the game is like and what someone might experience when they play it. And that's why we developed the main quest and the side quest to begin with, right? Is because there are games that sort of click on more levels or might be more relatable in more ways to people, or might have smaller issues that are less intrusive. But then there are other games that might have bigger problems that are still cool and still have positive aspects about them. And this is our way of shedding light on both. So I think that the structure has done a lot to bolster those conversations and to make that a little more clear to people.
Also, there's a lot of cool episodes coming up. I can't wait.
Yes. The hardest thing that you kind listeners don't know is us trying not to inadvertently reference or reveal the cool episodes that we may or may not have already recorded.
And I do like that part of this show. It's a little, I wouldn't say it's not low effort for sure. We put a lot of effort into it. It's like laid back. Like we can bank some episodes. We can take our time, make them really nice and sound good. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that. Anyway, enough self-aggrandizing or talking about ourselves. What is your favorite indie pick that we've picked so far? I guess we'll do this per year, but we've only done this for a few months. So from 2020, what is your favorite indie pick so far?
Now, I'm assuming that we are operating off of the main quest here, right? It'd be a pretty far stretch if someone pulled a side quest game as their favorite, yeah?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And just so people are aware, we won't do this every year, but since the list is small, as a touch point, the main quest games we have currently are, not counting the ones we added today, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Katana Zero, Amnesia the Dark Descent, Inmost, The Last Campfire, Emily is Away, Moss, and Her Story. So you can think of that essentially as the nominees for this favorite game on the quest log so far. And for me personally, it's pretty easy to say it's Sayonara Wild Hearts. We were just talking about this. This is definitely one of those games that I have become synonymous with shoving down people's throats. Everyone's like, if they show even the slightest hint of interest in this game, I'm sliding into their DMs to be like, all right, we're doing this thing. It's time. And it was one of the first games. I think it might have been the first game I brought, or in the first episode.
It's the first game we brought to the show, period. That's the first one we talked about.
Heck yeah. So it was obvious that I had a lot of built up desire to talk about this game even more it meant something special to me. It was one of my favorite games of the last decade. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And yeah, it's just I'm happy to see it sitting comfortably there in the first slot of the main quest, helping to usher in all the other friends, welcome them to the main quest, teach them the ropes. It's good stuff.
Okay, well, my favorite indie pick so far is Moss.
Wow, I don't know what I was expecting your answer to be, but I don't think I would have expected Moss. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I was going to bring, I did think about like, oh, I could have brought this to my honorable mentions, but it's a good place to talk about it. This is my favorite VR experience now, I think. I love Super Hot and Beat Saber and all the other ones, little other things I've tried, but this is the one that really just captured my imagination. I got sucked into that world and just really just blew me away. I thought it was the best VR experience I've played, and I love platformers anyway, 3D platformers. So giving me that extra level of immersion just really added to it, and yeah, that's why I wanted to highlight it here. I think out of that entire list, that's the one that stuck out the most to me.
That's a really cool pick. It is definitely one of my favorite VR experiences too. So I think I maybe would have thought you would pick Inmost, but you know what? Moss it is, baby. I'm liking it. Have you ever played Ghost Giant?
Not yet. Is it good?
If you're a fan of Moss, I would check out Ghost Giant. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future IndieQuest.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll do another VR episode down the line. We can do that. That'd be fun.
Absolutely, we will. And yeah, I think that's kind of a good segue into just some other thoughts I had. The show has been going for 3 months or so now, and we've mixed up things a little bit here and there. We've really just kind of refined the format more than changed it, but we have also been peppering in a lot of different types of segments. We like to keep things interesting. So I'm hoping that people are liking that format, that kind of here's the main rundown, here's the picks we're bringing, and then here's kind of one unique segment, and we'll pull segments out and put them back in kind of as we have things we want to talk about and keep things interesting. And just in general, I think it makes the show familiar, but then also has a little bit of element of freshness too, right? Because you always know what you're going to get in terms of the indie discussion, but then you never really know, hey, what's the other segment going to be for this episode? So we've been having a lot of fun with that. And I know we have some other segment ideas for things we want to pepper in that we haven't even tried yet. So I think look forward to even more cool stuff in 2021.
And some special episodes and guests. We'll just leave it there. We're going to have some guests.
Yeah, you'll see some guests coming on. And the IQ OST episodes aren't going anywhere. We both have a lot of fun putting those together. So those will always be there to break up every month or so. The regular, or every 2 months, the regular routine of the show.
Yeah. So I think that's it for this episode. We can start wrapping up here. I do want to mention that we did say we were going to bring those questions. We still have 5 questions in the bank here. We are going to save those and slot them into the next episode, which is titled something along the lines of Origins. So when that episode comes live, you guys be expecting some questions being answered inserted into that episode. So that's where those are, if you're wondering.
Awesome.
So it's time to wrap up the show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Been enjoying this podcast so far this few months, and looking forward to the future. You can find me on Twitter at Frantic Society. How about you, Steve? Where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Twitter and Twitch, both as Blink. That's M like Moss at the end.
Awesome. And you can find the podcast on Twitter at IndieQuest Pod, or you can email us directly. Give us some feedback on the show. Like we said, if you have any ideas for segments, you want to send us a question, if you have a cool little anecdote you want to send our way, whatever it is, feedback for the show is always appreciated. You can email us indiequestpod@gmail.com. And you can also talk, and if you want to check out other podcasts with like-minded individuals on them, you can check out our network, the Polykill Network. We have a bunch of awesome shows over there at polykill.com. Go peruse around, see what you can find.
Yeah, good mix of stuff. We got some gaming shows like Polykill, some more discussion-focused shows like Drunk Friend and Off Kilter, and then There's even some comedy if you want some Tales of the Lesser Medium, some jokes about game stories, and heck, we're even so cultured. We have a non-gaming shows on there too. You can check out Petey's Power Hour for everything you ever wanted to know about alcohol and mixed drinks and all kinds of cool stuff.
So if you want to check out any of those, any of that awesome stuff, head over to polykill.com. Now, Steve, why don't you sign us off for the beginning of a brand new year and say goodbye, but also leave a little hope and inspiration into our listeners by saying goodbye.
I think there's nothing more to say on the eulogy for 2020. Everybody is happy to see it go. There's been some positive that came out of it, sure. I think that, thankfully, no matter what happened in the world, no matter how hard things were for people, the games were still good. The indie games were strong in 2020. And we have a lot to look forward to in terms of gaming and the podcast for 2021. So thanks, everyone, for sticking with us through our first calendar year of recording. And yeah, look forward to more and better in the episodes to come.
What's with me and dicks and balls today? I don't know.